Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today taking a look at a 1v1 on Titan Duel version 3. Today spawning in our southeastern corner we have Thyrexi. Thyrexi? Yeah, Thyrexi. We'll go with Thyrexi. Thyrexi here going to be the red player for this 1v1 battle today. And I'm really excited to showcase more of this. I've been wanting to look at a lot more 1v1 battles. Today, spawning in the northwestern side, we have Riposter. Riposter. Sounds French almost, doesn't it? But yeah, I'm really excited to cast some more 1v1s because we don't take a look at this too often on this channel. I know Barcast TV takes a look at a lot more 1v1s, so if you're craving a lot of 1v1 content, be sure to go check them out because there's some really cool stuff. A lot of really cool 1v1s like that, but I did want to take a look at these. This was a game that I jumped into last night so that I made sure that I had the replays, and then I walked away and made some dinner. Had some wonderful wonderful broccoli and beef. It was quite good. Bot labs here for both these players, which is quite interesting. Usually we see vehicle labs come out in these 1v1s because, yeah, those vehicles are much more independent. The Blitz is very, very strong at the moment, and it's a great unit overall. It's really, really nice. Queuing up a whole lot of wind production. I think that's really, really nice to see. Wind on this map is 5 to 19 with a wind risk of 6.2. So wind is definitely the way to go here. Loads and loads of ticks coming out of Thyrexi. Kind of got a clash of different styles here. On one hand, we're going for pawns. On the other, we are going for ticks. So we'll have to see who's going to win out in the end. The immediate advantage is going towards Riposter. Ripost, who is... Oh, why isn't it showing me their economy? Well, that's odd. Usually it gives me a little indicator of the economy here. Actually, in these 1v1s, this little heads-up display up here in the top can actually be a lot more useful. We can actually see more clearly what these guys are actually doing here. And you can at a glance see what the army, although it's kind of hard to see on that background, isn't it? It's not perfect, but it does help in case you're curious at a glance what the current situation is. Riposter, I would say, has a better economy at the moment. We have more windmills coming up. We have more metal extractors. We're at 10 metal per second, 220-ish wind per second. That's going to change with the wind speed, of course. Whereas Thyrexi is going mainly for, although still at 10 metal per second, but not quite at the same amount of energy per second. And so indeed, we are going to be behind a little bit. Now switching over to pawns as well, so that's good. We are going to have an even fight after all. And so that means that a lot of this is going to come down to individual unit micro, as much as it can be done. Look at this one tick. The hero tick manages to sneak through. Does deny the metal extractor. Very nicely done. Yeah, very good stuff. More ticks break through in the top here. Are they going to find this construction worker? They will, but there's a response immediately from Riposter. Very nicely done. One of the ticks runs around the back of the base here. And basically just gets a good look at everything back here. Doesn't really manage to get too much damage done. This tick has denied a metal extractor, so there's a lot more aggression happening here from Thyrexi as opposed to Riposter. We're sniping metal extractors with individual units, which is really nice. That being said, Riposter is sending a little hit squad out to try and cause a little bit of damage here. That's 6 blue pawns to quite a few more red pawns, because of course those reinforcements are going to come up eventually. So I'm hoping that these blue pawns can get a little bit of damage done for Riposter's sake. Taking really nice engagements here, one pawn at a time. That's definitely the way to do it. Catching a construction bot, that's always nice. Those are expensive to build, and they're sort of difficult to get back up to those front lines. At the very least, it's costly. Thyrexi not taking it on the chin, though. We are going to be counter-harassing here. We have our own construction bot going down. 2 of them, in fact. Yep, that one will go down. Very nicely done. This tick has been in the back line this entire time. Just looking at all these units. Could definitely snipe a metal extractor here, maybe this one here. They're actually still pushing forward with a bunch of pawns into the back line of the blue player here. This contingent of pawns has not been dealt with, though, so these are still causing trouble as well. This laser turret does not have energy. Oh no! Looks like the economy has been devastated by whatever pawns ran by over here, and so Thyrexia is in quite a bit of trouble. Quite a bit of trouble. Quite a bit of trouble. Quite a bit of trouble here because now the energy lead is severely in Riposter's advantage. A single pawn moves by. Just non-stop aggression. I really, really love this coming out of these players here. So many pawns are here pushing out into the front line. We usually see vehicles, like I said before, and it's really refreshing to see these pawns because it's so action-packed, so intense. And the action does not stop. Here we have another pawn in the back line. Oh, those windmills are dangerous and close to chain reacting. Very lucky that these windmills didn't chain react here. Otherwise, that would have been really, really devastating. Would have basically cut the economy of Riposter in half. Whereas Thyrexia is now down to 170-ish production, whereas the blue player here is up to almost 300. Quickly, the economy is scaling out of control against the red player. You can see that there are no more new units coming out, at least not anytime quickly, because all of the build power has to be spared on building windmills, but there's already some more pawns moving forward. There's a light laser turret here. It's going to ward off a couple of these ones. Yeah, indeed, those will be pushed back, but they're circling like sharks smelling blood in the water. They want to collapse. Meanwhile, aggression on the other side of the map, as a bunch of pawns are continuing to harass over here. We're starting to put up laser turrets, light laser turrets. We've also got a few defensive pawns. These are the home guardians, and they're going to try and keep this base clean and clear of enemy threats. So I think that threat will be mopped up here, but the lingering blue pawns are still going to have to be dealt with. Finally, production resumes here in the bot lab, which is quite nice. We're going to need to see a lot of units pumped out here because Riposter can pump them out just as quickly. It's going to be really important. Ooh, a constructor is caught up here. Yeah, that costs quite a bit. That was the last forward constructor that we had for Riposter, so that is not a good look. We're going to have to build quite a few more of those constructor bots. Indeed, you can see a couple of them were queued up now. It's going to be really important. And Thyrexia going for the first res bot here, the Lazarus, which is really nice. That's going to either allow him to resurrect some of these units and put them back on the front line or reclaim them. Looks like we are going for the resurrection today. Very nicely done. I'm a big fan of that. I think that could end up being phenomenal here. Looks like these poor little pawns are being pushed back by a little laser turret and some of their differently colored brethren. Wow, look at this army. Does Thyrexia have the numbers to deal with this many pawns pushing towards his base? Currently, you can see the army is 28 for Riposter versus 13 for Thyrexia, so way, way in favor of Riposter. We just have to make sure that we use it efficiently, and things are going to turn out all right. If we take a bad trade, even once, this army value could plummet, and all of a sudden, doesn't matter that you have nearly double, more than double the army size of your opponent. Suddenly, you have no army whatsoever. And this aggression on the other side of the map is really important. But right now, this is the big clash right here. Those pawns on the other side of the map have been completely mopped up, which does mean that everything is going to be pumped into defense here for Thyrexia. Unless we can manage to get something out and about on the map, like a couple of ticks maybe, or something like that. It's going to be really hard to find another way to be aggressive here because there's so many pawns for the blue player. You can see the army continues to keep scaling here. We're going for a little bit of construction bots, and that's really nicely done. Reading this perfectly, that they're ahead in army, Riposter that is ahead in army, and so is able to, well, afford the time it takes in order to pump out some extra construction bots. That's really nicely done. Yeah, that is not enough pawns here. And we're slowly watching the red player get outscaled. I think it really comes down to that energy hit, right? There was a good long while where there was just no energy production being made. That and then how long it takes to set up these metal extractors. You can see Riposter has already rebuilt a whole lot of these metal extractors. Oh, there's a little bit of a grunt run by. Pawn run by, rather. Not sure exactly where these came from. They're going to dive on this tower. I'm not sure that was worth it. Although they do get the construction bot, which is quite nice. Ooh, and they get the metal extractor too. Alright, yeah, that was probably worth it then. Very nicely done. That's going to slow down that forward expansion here for the blue player, who is now forced to build another construction bot if they want to expand on the same level of, or the same many degrees that they were before. That many fronts, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Pawn warfare. It's a beautiful thing. Oh, these clusters of pawns are getting dangerously close to the base, though. That's 18 pawns versus 4 to defend. Not looking great. Oh, a pawn runs by and it takes out this metal extractor. That's so costly. Doesn't seem like a lot. Like, the individual metal extractors are not that expensive, but the fact that metal extractor is down and the amount of time that it's down for, it's going to cost a tremendous amount. Pawns pushing back the other pawns up north here. And it looks like these are routed in such a way that they can run by over here, but there's still this massive army to address right here. And hardly any army to deal with it. Yeah, there's not really anything. Oh, Constructor Bot was trying to hide in a pit. Was found after all. And it will be shut down. Continued aggression here from the red player. That's really, really nicely done. Really important to see that you're constantly moving units around, constantly probing defenses and moving whatever you can past them in order to shut down the economy here. Breaking down these metal extractors is super important because it lets you, it buys you time, right? Precious time that you desperately need, especially when you're behind like this. I think the problem Threxy is having right now is we aren't using the energy either by energy converters or building more constructors and expanding here. You can see the army, half of the army of red is in the back line, and there's plenty of army fighting it over here. But then if you look at this, there's still plenty of army to be aggressive over here. Yeah, and indeed, Threxy will GG well played out of this match. Really phenomenal work by Riposter. Let's take a look at these graphs, and we will move on to game number 2. Alright, and welcome back to game number 2. Again, on the same map, Titan Duel version 3, between Riposter and Threxy. So I'm really excited to see what they go for on a second attempt, a rematch, if you will. These games were played within short succession of each other, so those that first match is still hot in the minds of both of these players here. Same colors, which is convenient for me and convenient for you. But yeah, I'm excited to see what goes down here in this second game, now that they're both well aware of the strategies and what to go for. Oh, interesting. Riposter has gone for Cortex as opposed to Armada. If you'll recall, they were Armada in the last game. I guess they decided they wanted to try a different strategy here, and are going to go for the grunt technology instead of the pawn. Very nice to see. Threxy still still Armada. Getting my words twisted. Still Armada here. And indeed, we're going to go for some of that early pawn shenanigans. Very nice to see. Threxy is, of course, going to win the first unit out on the field award, because Armada have a bit of an unfair advantage with that tick being so cheap. But we are going to get a construction bot up and running after all. Riposter really on top of the energy production. It's something that definitely can cripple you in the early game. It's something that cripples me almost every time when I play these 1v1s. Is my production is solid, my my strategy is good, my build order is fine, and I just forget to build enough energy production, and sure enough, by the time that I'm really ready to scale up unit production to a constant, steady stream, I just don't have the energy to do it. And that's always a really big pain. Wow, the grunt is out. Perfect timing. I think I even say something in chat when I was watching this game. Perfect timing, though, as that grunt comes out. Yeah, there I am. I remember that. I had forgotten that. I think it was last night when I watched these. I'd forgotten that. Now that I look back at it, I just remembered. Timing on that grunt was immaculate. It sure was. I mean, that pawn arrived right as the grunt came out and was able to defend it. So that was really, really nicely done. I'm not sure if Repostor plays a lot of Cortex or if that was just luck or whatever that was, but it was phenomenal. Really, really impressed by that. Thyrexy scaling up the production here. We're going for quite a lot of construction bots, which is quite nice, I suppose. That does mean that we're going to be able to build a really substantial army, which is really cool. Now we're going for 20 ticks to 1 construction bot on our unit queue. And there's tons and tons of tons and tons of ticks out and available. But they are going to be countered by these grunts pretty hard. The grunts are a really nice counter to the ticks. Takes a couple laser blasts for them to kill a tick, but yeah, those grunts are definitely going to be outranged by the the ticks are going to be outranged by the grunts here. Getting my words twisted. Should have had more coffee today. Yep, this tick does get caught and it is going to be shut down. Very nice catch there. Using the reinforcements to pin it in and then catch it while it was trying to perform a run-by. Now, up north is completely uncontested here. You can see a lot of these ticks immediately move forward to go harass up here as soon as they see no defenses. This one is going to start shooting away at this little construction bot here, the poor little construction bot. And we're trying to kite this army around until we have enough ticks to absolutely collapse on it. Ticks are pretty cost efficient as far as how much metal you pay for them versus how much you can do with them. They're 17 metal, 340 energy each, as opposed to a grunt, which is 36 metal. So, yeah, a little bit more than double the cost here. But you can do quite a lot of damage with these ticks, and especially if you swarm something like this, you can dive in and then pull out, and before you know it, everything there is reduced to a molten pile of slag, and your tick army prevails. Okay, we are going to keep building a lot of these construction bots here. We need more energy, though. I wonder if an advanced solar panel would be worth it here. Very metal intensive, but I think specifically on this map, the windmills are probably going to be a little bit better. Still, I would love to see some sort of advanced solar build, just to give you that reliable boost in energy here. Or at the very least, maybe just some more construction bots working on these windmills. We do have this trio of construction bots putting together some laser turrets. That's very nice. Going to try and do a sort of static defense and tick-based composition here, which is quite interesting. So I am noticing something about the way that these guys play, and it's that one of the things is that they kind of manage a defensive army in the back, and then an offensive army for posturing and poking and trying to cause a little bit of mayhem. And I think that's really, really interesting. I think that's probably a really good strategy for making sure that you can keep your enemies APM taxed while also defending from whatever they're sending at you. Because you'll notice both players are doing that. We have a defensive army here, which eventually will sort of be funneled up to the offensive army. But in the meantime, the defensive army is basically just... oh, that's a bad trade. Yeah, those ticks don't get very close here, and a lot of them go down. Yeah. Really unfortunate. I don't think that was a great trade at all. The grunts jump right on top of the construction bots here. Now they do have this laser turret to fall back to, so that is quite nice. But yeah, that's a huge amount of the defense going down here, and it looks like the offensive army was mopped up as well. I'm not sure where those went. They must have come back and joined the main army here. Threx's commander actually in a little bit of trouble. Yeah, we're going to start up some light laser turrets here. Basically necessary. You really hate to lose your commander to a bunch of grunts that just surround it and get a bunch of lucky hits off. Ticks moving around, trying their very best to be threatening here, but how can such a cute little bot be threatening? Look at them galloping away. Oh, I love the tick. What a hilarious little unit. Are we going to switch into pawn production anytime soon? That's the question that's on my mind. It seems like the natural next step here, but we're really reluctant to do it. We're really focusing really heavily on these these pawns, or these ticks, I mean, rather. And I'm not sure how much I like it. We're starting to overflow metal here. Our production could definitely do with a little bit more of a beefy unit. We have a beamer coming up in the main base here to try and shut down some of this. And for what it's worth, it is pretty great against these grunts. It can melt them down really quickly. But that was a huge hit to the economy. A bunch of windmills went down there for Threxy. And I think Repostor is going to be more than happy with the damage that those grunts were able to do. Beamer still pointing its nose in their direction. They can't get a shot off over here, though. Wow, yeah, these grunts getting tremendous value. And there goes everything. It's, it's every windmill for Threxy completely destroyed. And that hurts pretty badly. Now, we do have energy production from all of these constructors, which is interesting. That's something we don't normally see. But yeah, these, you can see all of these together produce 70 energy per second. So it is going to give enough energy at the very least to rebuild here, which is quite funny. But yeah, almost immediately they all start up a whole bunch of windmills. Very, very important to get this production back up and running. And for what it's worth, I think they're doing a phenomenal job of getting that energy production back up. At this point, there's a ton of grunts up north, though. Wow, look at those. They decided to just jump on top of those laser turrets. Those 4 laser turrets, and for what it's worth, I mean, they took down a whole lot. But, ooh, the grave robber is already brought up to the front line. You can see almost 500 metal in wreckages here left on the front line there. And this grave robber is gladly going to eat those up and send them back home to fuel more production. Ah, okay, we were actually starting up some thugs, some more expensive units here. I suppose we feel like we've claimed enough of the map that the metal production is going to be worth it. Or the metal expense is going to be worth it, I should say. At this point, some grunts pushing forward into a light laser turret. One of them will fall. Yeah, a lot more static defense here than the last game, isn't there? Both players going for more light laser turrets. But overall, the aggression is still basically the same. We see grunts all over the place. We see pawns all over the place. We're going for a little bit of a vehicle switch. Interesting. We do have metal. I was looking at the wrong player here. We have the metal to go for this vehicle switch. That's going to be quite nice. I'd love to see... I guess blitzes on the field would probably be best. Blitzes are going to be really, really nice against these grunts here. They're going to have the mobility to outpace the grunts if they want to be aggressive, and they're going to have the health to counter the grunts if they want to be defensive. So that is really nice to see. Going for some missile trucks. That's interesting. Starting up a construction turret rather, right after a metal extractor, trying to get that economy back up and running, which is really nicely done. And the thugs have made contact over here, the assault bot, and they're going to start pushing forward. Things are looking dire for Threxy now, as they are forced to deal with an encroaching, oncoming push from a bunch of these. Well, these light plasma bots, but they're heavy for their weight class. Their tech class, I should say. Yeah, they're going to be really difficult to deal with. If anything can deal with it, I think it's going to be vehicles here. I think that's a really good play. Oh, but I guess Threxy decides to tap out. Okay. Realizes that there's not a whole lot of army left in the making. Virtually no army left in the making. And decides that that is going to be it for this game. Let's take a look at the graphs. Maybe that'll show the story a little better. Okay. Yeah, easier to see here. If we take a look at the metal stored, no, metal produced, there we are. That tells a good story. So you can see Threxy just couldn't keep up with the metal production here that Repostor was able to upscale to. And the energy production, wow. Repostor as well in the energy production was able to well and away take the lead with that. So very nicely done by Repostor. Hope this was a phenomenal, well, I know it was a phenomenal view. It's some high level gameplay, but I hope it was helpful to you. Maybe if you're learning the 1v1 sphere, you get a little bit of a sense of the aggression that you're supposed to go for when you're playing these games. Hope you had a phenomenal time watching today, and I will see you in the next video.